Hi everyone, so this week I wanted to talk about how my tics are always a lot worse this time of year with the holidays coming up, and tomorrow being December 1st, I know that we're getting right into the holiday season. As you guys can see, and you saw in my last video, I am very clearly still already in the Christmas spirit. I am an early decorator, which I know some people are against, but it makes me happy personally, so I do it anyways. I have 4 Christmas trees up in my house because I just love looking at Christmas trees that much and being around Christmas decorations. So this time of year, because of that, this time of year has always been a little bit worse for me in the Tourette department. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that even the happy emotions, the excitement, things like that, that still causes the Tourette's to amplify, the Tourette's to ramp up, and the tics and can... It can even cause like my compulsions and my OCD and my anxiety and everything else to get worse but mostly my tics. And I think people only see that as being, put it together that maybe the bad feelings would cause tics to get worse, like being scared, angry, nervous, sad. I think some people that don't have a total understanding of Tourette syndrome or don't know a lot about it at all, which to no fault of their own for the most part, they think that those emotions would cause tics to get worse because that makes sense, right? Yeah, when you feel sad or angry, you feel you feel down and you feel run down and you turn to food or something like that when you're not a person with Tourette syndrome. But those of us with Tourette's, we might do all those other things as well, but we also tic worse. And I understand why people think that the bad emotions are what would cause that, because that makes sense. But it's also the other emotions too, because even being so excited and being so happy and all those things, it's still an overabundance of that one emotion. And when you're somebody with Tourette syndrome, that has to get out of your body in some way. And for us, that comes out of our body in tics. And me personally, I'm a very excitable person. I get excited about things very easily. It can be something stupid and small, but it is actually one of the things that I actually really like about myself. I like that I still have that little kid excitement. I like that I still love Christmas and have that little kid excitement about Christmas time or any other small, possibly stupid little thing. I like that about myself. But what I don't like is the fact that my body doesn't necessarily like it, because then my tics get worse. And when my tics get worse, it tends to stress me out, and it kind of takes that moment of excitement away from me a little bit. That's not to say that I will never not love Christmas. I hope that stays with me forever, and I have great confidence that it will. But my tics get worse, and they're already worse in this video because of it. And it's because I'm so excited. So I kind of wanted to talk about that because I've seen other people and other parents talking about their kid getting really bad this time of year. So I just thought I would talk about a few of the times where it got really bad for me, and maybe a couple of funny moments and what I always did. And it's stuff that I've suggested in videos before, so I apologize if it just seems a little redundant, but I at least wanted to talk about it. So when I was a kid, I remember one Christmas Eve, I was so excited this year. I'm not sure why it was particularly this bad this year, but I actually did straddle jumps. So for those of you that didn't dance or wasn't a cheerleader or anything like that, it's when you jump up and your legs go like out to the side. So like I would jump and then my legs would like go out. And I was a dancer, so we did those in dances sometimes, and I was in acro, which is similar to gymnastics, but no bars or anything like that, and I was nothing close to gymnast. But anyways, I would crouch all the way down to the ground, and then I would jump up, and my legs would go out in a straddle, and I would do this over and over again, and for whatever reason, my body always had to do it when I was in like a door frame. It's like my body wanted to test to see if it would fit or if I was just going to kick my foot or my leg really hard against the door frame. Now, I'm a very small person, so that didn't happen, especially when I was a kid, because I was even smaller. But I kept doing it. I kept crouching down, and I would jump up. I would crouch down, and then I would jump up. And I'm really hoping that doesn't come back from talking about it. I don't think it will. But it was a hard one, and that was a hard one for my family to be around as well, because you never knew when I was just going to jump out of nowhere. And they weren't mean by any means, of course not, but they did have me sit down, so I had to go to my grandma's game closet and sit down and play a game. She had this like puzzle thing. It wasn't a puzzle that you like put together with a picture. It was all these different tiles, and you made patterns with the tiles. And this, like, it wasn't an octagon because it was made way more sides than that, but it was this little, I guess almost compartment, and it came with a book, and it had all these different designs that you could make with all these different shaped tiles, and that you would do it and you would create it to get to look like that picture, and then you could keep going through the book. And I did that, and that worked really well for me because my mind was so concentrated on getting it just like that picture right there. Or I would sit down and I would always make sure I brought a book with me because, again, my mind, it was concentrated on that book at that point. So even though I would still tic, it helped reduce them a lot. It helped calm my mind down. The puzzle situations always work the best for me, so I always like to do crossword puzzles or even the Sudoku puzzles, stuff like that really had to get my mind kind of thinking and almost wear my mind out and get it into a spot where it's not Christmas Eve, which I always knew it was in the back of my mind. How do you not know that it's Christmas Eve when I think I might have been like 7 or 8 possibly at this time. I don't remember. My mom could probably say more than I could. But I do remember that night tic-wise very well, because that was one of my biggest tics I've ever had, and it was Christmas Eve. And this time of year always brings out the most tics in me, more of the aggressive, more of the complex tics. So I'm ticking more with different parts of my body. And so I always still turn to my puzzles. I turn to reading, coloring. I really like to color. However, sometimes the coloring, I will say it calms me down, but it can still trigger my hand flick of a tic. And I don't like that because then I mess up my coloring page, and that's a whole thing for another day. But that's what I always turn to. I turn to that, or I did these breathing techniques, or I would ask my mom to like play with my hair or rub my back. And so now I ask my husband to do that. Like, I ask him to just sit there with me and like calm me down, watch a movie, anything like that. Those things helped. Obviously, they didn't make it go away completely, but they did help. Because speaking of that jumping tic, when I said I would talk about a couple funny things, this I guess would be the main thing I wanted to talk about. I don't necessarily remember this exactly happening, but my mom remembers. So we were going back out to the car so we could go home, and I was always really scared when I was a child that if I went home from my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve, Santa would be at my house and he would see that I was awake and take all my presents away. So I was especially nervous when we were leaving. This was a thought that I had in my head so strongly. I was scared that he was going to see, and I never told anybody that I was afraid of that, but I didn't tell anybody at that time. I have since then. But we were going out to the car, and I did it. So I crouched down and I jumped up, and my shoe flung off and went under the car, from what my mom tells me. And I can't help but to laugh at that and smile at that, because I feel like it is one of those moments where you can find that relief in that laughter. Not saying laugh at your family members, laugh at your kids, or anything like that when they tic, but if we have those moments that we can look back on and share a laugh or two or a smile or two about it, I think that is especially helpful, because it's very important to be able to do that, especially when it's a time of year where it gets worse. So I highly suggest don't lose the love of Christmas just because the tics get worse. I've been doing it for years and years and years. I still love Christmas. I still get excited. My tics still get worse as an adult. But you find those things that work for you. I think listening to music, puzzles, crossword puzzles, word search puzzles, coloring, reading, all of those things, they all help me so much, especially this time of year. It can just be hard to sit down and do them, but I promise finding the time is going to be so worth it for you, your child, your spouse, whoever it may be. I think that is really important, and it could be really helpful. So just wanted to talk about that a little bit and tell you that you're not alone in the tics getting worse, or your child's tics getting worse. It happens to us. Those happy emotions cause tics too. It's our body's way of reacting to emotion. And it unfortunately just is what it is. So just finding those tips and tricks and whatever works for you guys is so, so important, and keep doing it and making the time for them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I have a couple other questions that have been asked of me for other videos coming up soon. I will get to those, I promise. And I hope you guys keep enjoying. I hope you guys share, and don't forget to subscribe and share whatever ideas you have for me for my next videos. And I will see you guys next time.